Information-fueled.
Opinion-driven.
This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
5:07 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 89.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. How are you? Dan Mandis here. Welcome on in to your Tuesday, April 8th of 2025. Joe and Jones, I really want to keep an eye on the futures this morning. We've had a couple of really, let's just be honest, a couple of sucky days on the market. But I wonder if the worst is over. My fingers are crossed. My toes are crossed as well. The futures are now looking up, you said?
Yeah. So what happened is that overnight, before the markets closed yesterday, President Trump spoke with the Japanese leader on the phone, and they talked about making a deal.
Yep.
Like the president has been talking about. So overnight, the futures, the stock market in Asia did really well. The Nikkei closed 1,800 points higher. So that's 6.03% for that market. You've got the Shanghai index closed almost 2 points higher. So Asia did really well. And a lot of times we'll follow that. We'll right. Continue that trend here on Wall Street. So that's what it appears this morning. Dow futures right now are plus 678.
Now, what's going to be interesting, thank you, Joan. What's going to be interesting is that, I guess, according to Joan, is based on a phone call with Japan. Well, here's the deal. Trump is having phone calls and meetings with a lot of folks. This is what we're seeing. Tariff talk. What we're seeing is a lot of these countries coming to the table, making announcements, making proclamations that they are willing to negotiate. I mean, this was from the EU yesterday.
We stand ready to negotiate with the United States. Indeed, we have offered 0 for 0 tariffs for industrial goods, as we have successfully done with many other trading partners, because Europe is always ready for a good deal, so we keep it on the table.
All right, so the European Commission has offered Trump a deal to remove all tariffs on all industrial goods as part of trade negotiations. Trump, of course, announcing a 20% across-the-board tariffs on imports from the EU. That begins on April 9th. Steel, aluminum, and cars are all subject to a separate 25% rate. In total, Wall Street Journal, hundreds of billions of dollars in EU-made products will be impacted, talking about pharmaceuticals, copper, lumber, and semiconductors, and energy. Those have been exempted. But here's the point. The point is that countries are getting in line. Countries want to negotiate with Donald Trump, the guy who, of course, is known for deal making. And so that's, to me, what this whole thing has been all about. They want to negotiate a better trade deal from the guy who wrote The Art of the Deal. The markets, they weren't really as bad yesterday as we thought that they would be.
It was a roller coaster today on Wall Street. Closing numbers not as catastrophic as last week or as predicted. The Dow lost 349. The S&P 500 was only off 12. The NASDAQ actually gained 15.
So we'll have to see what happens. And again, we were talking about this earlier. Rumors that Trump was going to put a 90-day pause on tariffs. That turned out to be fake news. But listen to all these countries. Apparently there's more than 70 countries that have now come to the table. Italy, Vietnam, Japan, we just talked about that. Israel, India, Taiwan, South Korea, Thailand, and a whole lot more now coming to the table. The phone is ringing off the hook within the Trump administration. The desired effect, it seems to be happening. Donald Trump is willing to, sounds like, and countries are coming forward and willing to, sounds like, to negotiate better trade deals. That's what Trump has been talking about all along. By the way, have you heard, Joan, Donald Trump's new phrase that pays?
What is it?
Panicking?
Yeah, panicking. I love it.
Donald Trump coining a new phrase. The United States has a chance to do something that should have been done decades ago. Don't be weak. Don't be stupid. Don't be a panicking.
Panicking.
A new party based on weak and stupid people.
Tell us how you really feel, Donald.
Be strong, courageous, and patient, and greatness will be the result. The markets, of course, impacted. Of course, Donald Trump does have an end goal in mind, in my opinion.
No other president would be willing to do what I'm doing or to even go through it. Now, I don't mind going through it because I see a beautiful picture at the end. But we are making tremendous progress with a lot of countries, and the countries that really took advantage of us are now saying, please negotiate. You know why? Because they're getting beaten badly because of what's happening.
Now, China has come out, and this was overnight, China has come out and said that they will, and this is a quote, fight to the end, threatening an extra 50% tariff if Trump doesn't withdraw his or our retaliatory levy on Tuesday. And so, of course, that is today. And they're saying they will not be blackmailed by the United States. Now, what do we import from China? Machines, parts, of course, iPhones, clothes, toys. So Trump has really been aggressive with China, quite frankly, as he should be.
Nobody but me would do this. It would be nice to serve, a nice, easy term. But we have an opportunity to change the fabric of our country. We have an opportunity to reset the table on trade. We lose billions of dollars. We lose close to $2 trillion a year on trade. We lose $1 trillion a year to China. Why would we do that? Number one, why would we do that? And then you have to say, is it sustainable? Then you hear about all of the people that say, well, deficits. If we have a deficit with the country, or if the country has a big surplus with us, like China has a massive surplus that they take and they spend on their military. Well, we don't want that.
The bottom line is, I think that given you have all of these nations, and by the way, one of the things that I'll point out is that a lot of these nations were talking tough before the president actually implemented these tariffs. He then implemented these tariffs, and you had all of these nations talking tough. And then when they realized he's not joking around, now they're all lining up to meet with Donald Trump. Now, here's the thing. I think all of this is part of a negotiation tactic. I do. I mean, art of the deal, right? But part of this is that Trump actually, I believe that he wants to make him sweat a little bit. He doesn't want to automatically start negotiating. He wants them to sweat. He wants these nations that he says have been ripping us off for years. He wants them to sweat, to feel the pain, to really worry so that when they come to the negotiating table, that they're ready to really make a good deal for the United States. And that's what his whole point is. By the way, there is a Tennessee connection to one of the big parts of this story. It is coming up next on Super Talk, 99.7, 5:15. Time to check the roads on WTN. Thanks for listening to Nashville's Morning News. By the way, Super Text line is open, 615-737-9986. 4702. Dan, don't underestimate Trump's ability to screw today up. All it takes is one tweet or him talking to make the markets crash again. He can't keep his mouth shut. I get it. He does tend to do that sometimes. And I mean that with love. I do. But 4702 is right. But I think that the president has actually been very measured. I don't know if you've noticed this, Joan.
Oh, yeah.
But he's been very measured as of late.
He has been.
And you know what? When the rumor was out that he was going to pause the tariffs for 90 days, they immediately came out, even though the market was rebounding. He came out and he said fake news. Now, Volkswagen, I don't know if you folks have heard what's going on with Volkswagen, but they've now actually decided to hold their cars back from American dealerships while they try and figure out a way to deal with these tariffs. From the Wall Street Journal, executives are thought to be hoping for either a presidential U-turn or a chance to negotiate a lower rate. It is the latest shot across the bow from VW. The company said it will display a new import fee. The fee will appear alongside standard charges like tax and extras for optional features like heated seats or panoramic sunroofs. VW's decision to hold shipments underscores the ripple effect hitting the global auto market, but Audi stands directly in the crosshairs of Donald Trump's tariffs. The luxury brand's top seller, the Q5 SUV, has a final assembly plant in Mexico, and nearly every other car in the luxury brand's lineup ships from Europe, making its entire lineup tariff eligible. So the point here is that they are hoping to negotiate, which is, again, in my opinion, obviously what Donald Trump wants. Now, there is, again, a Tennessee connection. A spokesperson pointed out that VW invested more than $14 billion in U.S. manufacturing plants and employs thousands of factory workers. The company has one gigantic factory in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where it produced the mid-size Atlas and Atlas Cross SUVs and the electric ID. A spokesperson pointed out that VW invested more than $14 billion in U.S. manufacturing plants and factory workers as well. So, and we all know part of what's been going on is that you do have a lot of these countries and companies that have said, okay, what we're trying to do is avoid these tariffs. So we're going to manufacture in America. We're going to do whatever we can to avoid these tariffs. I mean, I'm not going to share the litany of companies with you this morning, but you all know Apple is one. I think GM is another one. But all these companies deciding now to manufacture in America, I think the number is over $1 trillion at least of investment has come into America since Donald Trump started this whole tariff journey. Now, also in the news today, and no, it's not Tariff Talk Tuesday, it's just a Tuesday. But I will also say, I should say the super text line, alive and well this morning. And thank you. 1384 Joan says, good morning, Joan.
Good morning. I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention to you.
Apparently doesn't want to say good morning to me, but does want to say good morning to Joan.
Oh, well, that's nice.
I love Maria Bartiromo. Mm-hmm. I love Maria Bartiromo. Now, have you noticed, Joan, that a lot of people are making a very big deal out of what Maria Bartiromo said yesterday regarding Trump's tariffs and a possible recession?
We will see some products actually be raised in price because companies will pass on the cost of tariffs to consumers. I would expect that. That's why you have some people saying that we could see a recession, we'll see a growth slowdown. This morning, Nancy Lazar, who I follow very closely, and I think she's terrific, from Piper Sandler, she says if the tariffs stay in place for at least the next 6 months, even if only 50% of the price shocks where we're seeing products go higher in price show through the economy, U.S. real GDP is on track to decline about 1% in the second quarter and in the third quarter, with unemployment rising.
All right, so that's what she said. And so a lot of people glomming onto that one statement. But you know what the thing is? Maria Bartiromo said a lot more than that. And I've got the audio coming up. It is 5:21 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. And Joan Jones, what is coming up in the news at 5:30?
Well, crews are working around the clock on restoring power. We'll tell you how they're doing. Also, apparently we are this far from having woolly mammoths roaming the earth again. Yeah, we got those stories coming up here at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.